They meet behind closed doors. No cameras, no press, no records. And yet when they leave, nations fall. Borders shift, markets collapse, wars ignite. This isn't a theory, it's a pattern. Because there's a club so powerful, so secretive that its very existence has been denied for decades, and yet the world we live in today is built on the whispers exchanged inside its walls. They call it the Bilderberg Group, a gathering so exclusive, even presidents have to ask permission to speak. And when they do, they're sworn to silence. Founded in 1954, its official purpose was innocent enough to foster dialogue between Europe and North America. But from the very beginning, it was different. Meetings weren't held in public buildings. They were hosted in remote luxury hotels guarded by armed forces, blocked off from civilian access, swept for bugs. The first meeting, held at the Hotel de Bilderberg in the Netherlands. Hence the name. But this wasn't a networking event. It was a rehearsal for a new world order. Inside the room were royals, CEOs, military generals, intelligence officers, and high-ranking politicians. They didn't speak in speeches, they didn't vote. They decided, in private, with no oversight. And that's how it's been every year since. Only 120 to 150 people are invited annually, and the guest list is a who's who of global power. Former Secretary of State Henry Kissinger, Microsoft co-founder Bill Gates, NATO Secretary Generals, Prime Ministers, CIA directors, bank heads, tech billionaires, oil executives. You won't find an agenda, you won't find transcripts. And the media, not allowed within miles. This isn't just secrecy, it's control, and time after time, war seems to follow. In 2002, top officials from the US and UK attended the Bilderberg meeting, thus months before the Iraq War. Backroom talks were held about the Middle East, security concerns, and oil reserves. Weeks later, the invasion began on a lie. Weapons of mass destruction, weapons that never existed. Millions died, trillions were spent, and oil contracts. They went to companies tied to those same attendees. Coincidence or coordination? Bilderberg defenders will tell you, it's just a discussion forum, but that forum somehow predicts the future. In 2008, financial executives gathered quietly in Chantilly, Virginia. That summer, the global financial system collapsed. One of the largest transfers of wealth in human history followed. The poor lost homes, the middle class lost pensions, and the rich, they came out richer, because they knew. They always do. One former attendee, an economist, who later leaked internal notes, said, "You don't get invited to Bilderberg to learn what's happening. You get invited because you're already part of the machine that makes it happen, and the machine never stops." In 2014, as tensions grew in Ukraine, Bilderberg meetings focused on geopolitical instability in Eastern Europe. Months later, Crimea was annexed. The West imposed sanctions, and weapons flowed. Now, almost a decade later, full-scale war is back in Europe. Who profits? Defense contractors, energy tycoons, private security firms. And the same names keep reappearing again and again on those quiet guest lists. But Bilderberg is just the tip of the iceberg. Because while the world watches elections, revolutions, and headlines, the real decisions happen far from public view. Take the Council on Foreign Relations, the U.S. sister to Bilderberg. Its members shape foreign policy before presidents even take office. Or the Trilateral Commission, where Japanese, American, and European elites coordinate economic policy in ways that supersede democratic oversight. They don't carry weapons, they don't wear uniforms. But make no mistake, they wage wars. Financial wars, trade wars, information wars. And when those fail, real wars, the kind where we bleed. But they don't, because the people in the club don't send their sons to fight. They don't wait in bomb shelters, they don't run when the sky falls. They're already safe, already rich, already gone. Because the goal of these secret meetings isn't peace. It's preservation of wealth, of power, of dominance. They plan decades ahead. While we argue over headlines, they move trillions behind closed doors. They don't see borders the way we do. To them, nations are chess pieces. People are leverage, and war is a business model. Private military firms like Blackwater, reconstruction contracts for companies like Halliburton, oil rights, mineral rights, pipelines. They don't just react to conflict, they engineer it. The Rothschild family once said, "The time to buy is when there's blood in the streets," and they meant it. Every bomb dropped, every government toppled, every refugee crisis, it all leads back to boardrooms. And inside those boardrooms, some of the same faces gather every year, not to represent us, but to control us, because real power doesn't come from armies. It comes from secrecy, from making decisions no one can trace, from shaping the world while remaining invisible. Some call it conspiracy, but if it's true, is it still a theory? Ask yourself, why are the meetings off limits? Why are the attendees protected by international security? Why is the press barred when these people shape your future? Because if you knew what they were planning, you'd never sleep again. The wars of tomorrow won't start with tanks. They'll start with signatures in places like Bilderberg. The names will change, the flags will shift. But the club stays the same, and they're not done. Next year, they'll meet again. They'll sit in leather chairs, sip vintage wine, and quietly redraw the map of the world. And when they're done, they'll vanish. No proof, no paper trail, no accountability, but the consequences will echo for generations. So remember this. Every time you hear about a conflict that came out of nowhere, every time the media pushes you to take sides, every time the smoke rises and the headlines scream, look deeper. Ask who benefits, and then ask, who planned it? Because in a quiet room, far from the spotlight, they already know how it ends.